Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fred Amron, and welcome to our demo of EFC Plus. And for some of you, it's still good morning, but welcome, and I appreciate everyone joining us here today. Again, my name is Fred Amron. I'm the owner and founder of EFC Plus, and we have a pretty exciting tool, I think, that hopefully you're all interested in. We were just at the XY Planning Conference. We were selected as one of the FinTech finalist, so we were pretty excited about that opportunity with Michael Kitches and that group there. But we're going to go through the tool. We've had one technical issue that we wanted to address, in the sense that the product or the tool we use for our webinars goes through Google Plus and YouTube. And we did a test this morning, and they've made some adjustments, and the screens and the resolution was not too good. So what we've opted to do is do some screen prints of that, so it won't be live. I apologize for that, but we're going to go through and show you all the power of the tool, and you'll be able to get a good feel of that. So it really, when we brought it up, and we've had this complaint before on a few things before on the screen demonstrations, that it's just too blurry to see the details on the resolution. So we've opted to blow up the screen so you can get a flow. You'll be able to see all the analysis part much better as we go through this. So hopefully that will help. So again, hopefully this is how EFC Plus will fit into your practice. And what we're trying to address is the whole college affordability problem, the student debt issue that many more families are worried about, the affordability of college. It's such a big part of being a parent. We just put 3 children through, so I understand that pressure. But everyone focuses a lot on the priority of the admission part, and I think we need to change that dynamics to focusing on the outcome. What does your child look like at age 25? How much debt do they have? How much education will they need? And are they on the path they want to be on? We've run across 2 or 3 cases recently where parents maybe use the resources to go to that more elaborate, more expensive school, and then the child has debt for graduate school that maybe if they rethought how they're going to use that money, they could have better utilized it, and maybe the child would have had less debt at age 25 because they knew the graduation rate, or not the graduation rate, but the requirements for the career was going to require postgraduate studies, and utilization would have been better. But we've estimated about $1.2 billion is wasted in the admission process or wrong college decisions. We already have $1.3 trillion of student debt. It's affecting 43 million people, and it's due to our lack of financial literacy, and there's a term called financial abstraction. We just don't know what we're paying for. The schools only provide information 1 year at a time, and the biggest advantage that we've, I think, added into the process is looking at it over a 4-year view, doing both the what we're going to be paying based on how the EFC number is going to change, and also how's our money go out the door, and how does that structure need to be utilized. I think we're the first company that I'm aware of that has a comprehensive solution. So we're going to cover the financial aid process. We're going to do the student loans. We'll look at student loan repayment, and also the cash flow and how the debt structure. So granted, it's a very complicated process. You'll see how we broke it up in a few minutes. But I think overall, we've tried to simplify the process for both the advisor and for the family. The system is going to allow you to interact with them. It's not paper, it's all system, it's all generated, via screens. So if they, change their list or something like that, you don't need to be involved where you're resending them reports. Basically, they can log in, add the schools, and it really is a much more efficient methodology. Here's how we've addressed the problem. We think there's 3 major parts of the decision process, or they can be broken up into 3 parts. There's around 2.2 million students who apply to college every year. So building your EFC number, building your list, getting your award letter, that decision process is one unto itself. Then we have the 21 million, which would include graduate, associate degrees, and in college. They're in each year, about 21 million. They're in college. That's a whole separate decision process. We have both of those tools ready. The in-college tool will probably released in the next week or so. We've had some, we made some adjustments to after the beta test, and we hope by early 2017 we'll have the in repayment. That will be, they've graduated, their life has changed, they've married, they'll have to file their taxes, married and separate to qualify for certain things. That tool hopefully will be available by early 2017. We're hoping even as early as January. But this is how we have the decision process made up as we look into this. So let's look at the decision support system here. This is I'm trying to make the college decision. So this is what we're going to do. There's a 10-step process here that we look at. It takes the advisor, once you're be familiar with it, about 15 minutes to 20 minutes to fill it out. For parents that are fairly competent in our pilot group, it was anywhere from 25 to 50 minutes for them to do it. It's pretty logical. It goes through the process. There's a few things I wanted to point out that we've done to make it easier, and also that are very different. We have about 1,700 schools in the system. Our cost data is excellent. We just did a manual, going through the whole 1,700 schools this year to make sure the quality of data was excellent. But also what we've done here is we've asked the client how much money they have saved and how much can they afford per year. This is going to be important for the cash flows. We've also asked them what the GPA is and SATs. We have an enrollment management matrix you'll see in a few minutes. But again, we're walking through, and each screen has a help screen, as you can see on the far right-hand side. It explains what the screen's about, what they need to do if you're going to have the client do it. Now, with our service, we typically will put this all in for the client. We send out an input sheet. They fill it out. We get their taxes. So that way, we know the information's in the right way. We don't have to depend on that. But some advisors are just giving it to the client, and they can fill it out from there. It is very user-friendly. Also, what we've added in here is a viewer. So once the client gets the license, they can create a second viewer that they can lock out this other person from seeing the personal financial information and just see the college reports. And I'll show you when we make that break in the system. But this may allow you to, if you're a financial planner, engage the high school guidance counselor, maybe with a divorced parent, or just engaging the student in the conversation to see the financial outcomes of the schools that are on their list. Here's one of the simplifications we've made. Instead of you reading the detailed line items of the FAFSA form, which lines we need, we just bring in the tax reform that the parents have requested. So here, we have the 1040. They have line 7. They have line 10. They have line 15. It doesn't matter. We're just transcribing that across for the client. So again, this gets into the simplification that we've created. We've also allowed customization here. So here, this is the summary screen that we get in step 10. It shows you the timeline. So in this family, we have a second child coming in years 3 and 4. So that's kind of important. This is where we improve the better what. But also, we are doing the debt structure. So you can see here we have the 2 federal loan interest rates that will be charged. But also, you can customize the private student loan or home equity loan amount if there are going to be options you'll be considering. So when you do when we do the cash flow and the financing analysis, you'll be able to see those interest rates. Again, you can change those to what you think you're going to be charged and customize the solution for the client. So now after you fill in all that information, you're now going to cross over. So 1 through 10 is that private information. You can block the other viewer from that. And now we're going to cross into the EFC and the reporting side of the solution. So we do both methodologies. We break it up into the 4 quadrants. So here you can now discuss and create your strategy for your clients, showing them their income converts to about $31,100 of their EFC. The parents' assets converts over to 51 to 55. And then here we also at the bottom here you see the 36,255. That myth about you need to take everything out of your child's name. So in this case, you can see this child has $20,000 of assets, which you would think would be oh, we should take everything out. Well, if this child's looking at all state schools, it's not going to matter if we move those assets out. Outside of the legal responsibility and the tax ramifications, if they're looking at just state schools and the cost of attendance is less than the 36.2, this is a reason to say, okay, we shouldn't be moving this out. We should just leave it where it is. Again, we'll do both methodologies. The institutional methodology is an estimate because that will vary school to school. As also part of this, we do a timeline. So that's one of the questions. It's actually step 3 in the process. We do this for 2 reasons. One, we're going to show you the overlap where their EFC number is going to be in 2 places. So it'll improve the what. The second part is we want to make sure the client understands the financial commitment based on their age and the youngest child graduation. So here they can see the recovery time, the financial commitment, and just get a feel of what they're looking to do, both as an educational source and from a retirement planning standpoint. Once we've completed the financial EFC analysis, then we start looking at the colleges. At this part of the system, we just have the schools listed in alphabetical order. So you can see we just do a summary Again, you could have 19 schools in the system at any given time. Our data is, I think one of the best data out there, and we will probably have the best data because we're actually collecting award letters, and you'll see how we do that in a few minutes. But here we're just looking at a summary. We tell you if it's a profile school or not, the cost of attendance at the school, and then what the school meets of need, how much of it's gift aid, and their graduation rate. Because this is a completed system, there's typically would be all X's here, but we have award letters next to these, and I'll show you how that works in a few minutes also. But in this part of the system, we're just putting in alphabetical order. Those X's, you can add and subtract schools if you want as you go through this process, again, as they're building their list. We also have Wintergreen Orchard, their 2-page guidance counts report. This is at their fingertips. If we go back up here to the previous screen, and we look at the that little pie on the far right-hand side, if you click that button, you'll get the 2-page guidance counts report. It's right at your client's fingertips, and they can scroll through that if they want. So it's, again, as they get, go to the cocktail party, they hear, oh, you should try to this school or that school. You don't have to be involved. The client has access to the system. Then we start getting into the analysis of the system. Here we're going to use Judy out of college. We create a dashboard. Within the dashboard, we have the cost of attendance, the average cost of attendance here. We have what the parents' EFC number, based on their EFC number and the cost of attendance, what they'll qualify or what their net cost will be over 4 years on a projected basis. This family had $25,000 saved and $10,000 per year. So if their child is going to go to school, they're going to have to come up with an additional $101,000 of resources. And if they should finance this through the Parent Plus and the Stafford loan, their monthly payment on a 10-year basis would be about $1,111. So it gives you a feel of what it's going to look like. Again, we're still in the planning stages. We're still building our list. You're going to see we regenerate all this when we get to the award letter section. We're also showing you graduation rates, how competitive the school is as far as admissions and enrollment, and then what the school typically meets of gift aid and need-based aid there. Okay. Then we do on the same page here, we show your positioning. Not many people are familiar with this process. This is your enrollment management. So the horizontal line is we're pretty much familiar with that. If that's an academic reach, people know what that is. My SATs are not where the school is, or my GPA is a little bit below. The blue dot is the student. It is dynamic for every school, so everyone can see where their academic position is on an unweighted basis. It doesn't include their letters of recommendation or their essay or anything like that. What's not explained to them is the vertical line. So the vertical line is the average package at that school. So when your parents or your clients go into the admissions office and they hear, oh, you need to apply, we have plenty of financial aid, and they get their hopes all up, if they're on that far right-hand side of the process back in this section here, you can see the mouse, they would have what we call an academic reach. So even if they get in, they're probably not going to get the money they need to go, and now we've wasted $75 plus all the emotions to go there. Again, this just helps you refine your list. That gets into the $1.2 billion we think is wasted because they hear, oh, we need to apply with plenty of financial aid, and it ends up being a $75 lottery ticket. So that's what we're trying to prevent. As you can see here, we also provide the information. So here the average package in this case is $31,400. This family only needs $15,200 to go here. So they're in pretty good shape on top of the academic positioning for the student. So again, they're improving their list as they go through the process. Then we start getting into the details of the numbers. Here's what we do is we create a 4-year what. So based on the academics and the their financial aid positioning, we can see the schools only give you 1 year at a time, but we have a second child coming on board. Again, if this was inverted, this is an older child, it would reflect the timeline based on what you've put in here. But you can see here that they're going to qualify for more aid. If you scroll down the page a little bit there, you can see how the expected family contribution converts out to 40, 40, and then to 22. This is what the student's going to qualify for need-based aid over the 4 years at this institution. And then we're going to use the school's gifting, historical gifting policy to get out what our better what will be over the 4 years, as you can see how that works below. So now we have a better what. It's projected over 4 years. And now what most families don't do is the how. This is the how. This family has $25,000 saved. They can afford $10,000 per year. We're now projecting what debt they're going to have. So the red is the debt that's needed. This is then graphically shown to them, just as you can see on the screen here, what debt will be incurred by year over the 4 years. So after this is done, so we've done a better what, and now we have a better how. Now we're going to see what that looks like. So now we bring in those numbers. This is the same numbers that were on the cash flow we just saw. So there's the Stafford loan limits. There's the additional debt we're going to need by year. There's the student Stafford loan that we can see here. And then we do what the parents are going to do. So if we take a Parent Plus loan, and if you remember in step 10 we showed you a few minutes ago, we've customized our interest rates at 4 and 6. And now we start looking at what our financing options can be. So this gives you a picture of what we look like at graduation based on how we finance that. Now, another issue that we've talked to a lot of the financial aid directors, and what they say, if families start borrowing money, they have a tendency to not be able to handle that in the outer years. So you can see here, we get to junior and senior year, it gets pretty expensive on the loan repayment side. If we average out the two of them, it's about $500 a month. So in this case, this family doesn't have a $10,000 cash flow issue. They have a $16,000 cash flow issue, depending on what numbers or what time of year you're looking at. So this gets into the awareness of the financial commitment they're making. Again, they could defer it if they like on certain loans they could not. So this gets into the understanding the financial commitment they're making to this child. So this concludes how we build our list. So we've now created a list. We now have what our financial position looks like, and now we're going to start looking at what the award letter looks like. So now we've done our applications, and now we've received award letters. So now the system, as you input your award letters, sorts it by the most cost effective. So a few things I want to point out here is you can see we have Pitt and Juniata, about a $21,000 difference in school price, but over the 4 years, based on what the award letter the child received, they have, it's basically only a $6,000 difference. This is where you start looking at the quality of education. How successful is your child going to be in the environment they're going into? If they're leaving a small private school and going to a large state school, can they handle that classroom from 20 to now 400? The best way for them to save money will be to graduate on time. What environment it is, what programs are offered, this is where this becomes more and more important as you go through this process. So again, Juniata, even though on the list price it's $21,000 more at the end, because you've done this analysis, it becomes much more affordable. So let's show you how you do that. So one, we're going to build your cost of attendance. What we've also noticed as we did our research this summer, more and more schools are getting to be a la carte in their pricing. So the engineering program versus the pre-med program versus the liberal arts program are all different tuitions. Then you start getting into, we have the housing option of the suite versus the quad versus the regular dorm rooms. All that has become customized. This client now can customize their cost of attendance, and then they're going to load in their actual award letters. And then we regenerate the 4-year cash flow. So this student received a $19,000 merit scholarship. And as you can see, we don't have the big jump up because the $19,000 merit scholarship is reflected in the award letter. And that's what made this school much more affordable when we saw the comparison up above. So as we go through this, we can now see what it's going to cost us over the 4 years, and now we do a better how. So here we can see the better how, and all of a sudden our $25,000 goes over multiple years, and now our debt doesn't really start until our 2nd year. So this improves our ability to see what schools we're looking at, improve the quality of our decision, and make a much more informed decision as we go through this. And then we're just going to regenerate the financial analysis on the debt structure. So again, we have the planning side, and now we have the actual side, and now we're going to go through. I want to give you an example. This is what's in the system here. We break up the award letter. There you see the $19,000 there. We break it up into a merit scholarship that's reoccurring, then maybe they received an outside scholarship that's reoccurring, or a 1 year that's not reoccurring. But now, if we made a simple change of taking that $19,000 and made it a need-based scholarship, look what happens to the charts, and the system does this for you. Because it's a need-based scholarship now, not a merit scholarship, so our first picture showed a merit scholarship. But now if it's a need-based scholarship, the system compares the lower of the two. It's a warning sign for the client. So here they've got $19,000, that's not going to change. But in year 2, because it's need-based and dependent on their EFC, we're going to compare what the school's historical gifting policy is to what they've actually received. And this has happened to us in numerous times where clients have had to go back to the school and say, hey, my EFC number is not changing. Am I going to get the same money going forward? Some schools will commit to say, yes, you will. Some schools will not and say, you know, that's a risk at hand. So, you know, this way the client can make a better informed decision. They understand the risks. If the school comes back and doesn't give as much money, this is called front loading. So we're just giving the clients a warning sign that says, okay, you need to be aware this can happen, and they've just given you a good deal to make you come and hopefully keep you. So it's an important part, and the system will do this automatically based on how you've inputted the award letter. So it's going to be important when your clients load in the award letters, or that you do it, that you understand the information. So a lot of times the schools will just say a scholarship. Typically with a merit scholarship, you're going to get a separate award letter, a separate letter that says, you know, Susie or Johnny received a 80,000 or whatever the number is going to be scholarship and needs to maintain a certain GPA. Need-based scholarships will either say it's a grant or something like that. Again, but loading it into the detail of the analysis is important to make a better decision. So you can see here how the numbers changed. So the system now, if that was what had actually happened and they had got clarity on the scholarship, you can see what the difference was. Before we had about a $6,000 difference, and now we have about a $20,000 difference over the 4 years. It still may be the best choice, but again, we're looking at what the financials look like. And this also allows you, putting all the information in one place, to let your clients see a better value. You know, factor in the size of the school, the environment, distance from home, the campus environment, and the academic, you know, programs that are offered at those schools. And now they know what it's going to cost them over the 4 years, assuming the student's going to graduate over the 4 years. So again, I think we've done a good job on doing this. And again, it'll be sorted by the schools. And again, if the parents go back and are able to negotiate, which, you know, with prior, we're going to have more time to negotiate. This tool may actually help them make better decisions as we go through it. So that concludes how we do the college decision for the high school senior as we're trying to make our decision. Again, if we make a better decision when we look at graduation rates and transfer rates, there's a significant amount of money that's lost every year because we make bad decisions. Now we're going to move into, you know, the student who is in college, maybe is going back to school, in graduate school, and how that tool can work. So this system is a little bit simpler, a little bit easier because we're not building our EFC, we're not building multiple schools. But here we're going to stay with Juliana. Here's what the child's birth date was as we're going through the system. We're going to build their cost of attendance. So you're going to go back here. We've broken the decision process into 6 major areas. So we have the data input. Then we're going to key in the award letter similar to the prior system. But then we're going to do the loan inventory. It actually is going to go out to the National Student Loan Database System, bring down the actual debt that's incurred, and then using the same methodology we just showed you, it's going to project your to graduation. We'll show you how that works in a second. It's going to then show you your cost. We're going to ask you the income, and then we're also going to build a personal P&L. So this engages the student in showing them the financial outcome. It's going to do all the loan repayments. So here, this is an undergraduate student. We're looking at Juliana. We're going to rebuild our costs. It's going to use the most current award letter that we have. Then we're going to go out to the National Student Database. You know, they're going to need their FSA ID. They log into that system. You can create a download file. It's called a text file that you can create, and you can input that right into the system here, and it's going to bring in all the actual debt that's incurred for this student. Now, what it won't bring in is if the parents have a Parent Plus loan, they'll have to manually input that, or maybe if they have a private student loan that's outside the system, they can key those individual items in so we can see a full picture of both the federal loans and the private loans and what the total debt looks like for this student at this school. In addition, what we've done is we've put in the graduation time frame. So here we're going to say, okay, what's the target graduation date? How many credits do I need to graduate? How many credits do I actually have towards graduation? That can be different because we have about 35% of the students will transfer in the first 2 years. So the student may have earned 40 credits, but when the transfer, they only accepted 30. So then that re-looks at what the number of credits they need, what the target graduation date is going to be, and how many they need per semester. It's then going to regenerate all the cash flows that we saw a few minutes ago. And then it's going to structure the debt. So here, what's going to happen is we're going to see here's our debt that's been incurred. We're then going to see what our debt needs to be incurred to get to graduation. Here's how the debt was incurred on the parent side. And in one of the questions of data entry, we actually asked, okay, these shortfalls, how will they be funded? And this parent selected a Parent Plus loan. So here's how we can look at what the debt structure is. This gives you both your incurred and your projected. And it separates between what will qualify for the different loan repayment options by the student, and also what will be incurred outside of that, not outside the federal program. So this will help you understand the loan repayment options. The system will then generate all 8 loan repayments and build a personal P&L for the student. So an example here, I didn't show you the loan repayment. I forgot to put that slide in here, but it does all 8 loan repayment options and all the personal structure. So based on the award letter, or based on the debt structure here, all the math is done for the student and the parents based on the decisions they're making. So as we go down here, you can see here's the student's income. So they're projecting at graduation they'll be making about $35,000. Then we're going to take out the taxes, and then their monthly income is going to be about $2178. And then it builds. You can then, if you clicked on that, the edit expenses, you can then edit the expenses as they are, and they can pick and choose of the 8 different loan repayments up above to say, okay, we're picking a IBR method, in this case it was, of 143, and then they have $57 they're also going to owe based on the decisions the parents made. So this gives them an important part, and then they can see if they're cash flow positive. So it's an important part. Again, they can engage the student. Where we've seen this to be helpful is, I think, for your clients, they come in the office and they're worried about this. You go through the analysis, how we're going to use your money the best way, what debt structure we can have. And then what can happen is the client has the tool, they can go back and engage their child in the financial consequences. No, we're going to change majors, we're changing schools. What are the financial realities of making those decisions? And you can see that, and they can engage the student in that decision process. So as we go through this, as you can hear, I think there's a really great opportunity to get into the college planning business if you do it the right way. I think we can save their clients a lot of time, a lot of money. It's a big issue for most of us and our clients. I also think it's a great, if you do this the right way, a great lead generation method, a new revenue source. It's a new way to test drive clients, possibly, if you go out there through the college planning process. And as I said, we will have a complete solution on the loan repayment side. There is no tool that I'm aware of right now that is in that middle section. So my child's in school, what's the financial outcome? We have tools on the front end, the free net price calculators on all the college websites, and then there's all loan repayment. But no tool really takes the loan structures, both incurred and projected, and separates also the private and the federal loan, so you can see it all in one place. I think we've done a very good job in organizing the information, and I apologize we couldn't do it live. It would be more graphical for you and easy to understand, but I think we've really done this. I think there's an actual void in the financial planning service industry right now in this area, so I think we're trying to get more financial literacy out to the advisors so they can communicate this to their clients and their parents. And I also think there's a great networking opportunity if you get into this business, in the sense that you have college planners who are looking for quality advisors, and I'm hoping that you using our tool will, they're familiar, a lot of them are familiar with ICA and Heck with Me, that they can trust you. They're looking for those fee only or fee-based advisors, and feel that their clients will get the best advice possible. As you can see, my focus as we go through this process is on the outcome, and by doing our 4-year cash flow analysis, both in the planning stages and on the in-college process, we hopefully have your clients will graduate on time with manageable debt, so they know their financial outcome as they go through this. That's our goal. We're trying to change that from the admission process. And when you look at it, we have a transfer rate around 35%, depending on what study you look at. We have a national graduation rate of less than 40% after 4 years. The system is broken, and we need to fix it. So that concludes the presentation. If you have questions, please write them in there on the right-hand side. If you have, from a pricing standpoint, let me just go over that real quickly. It's $25 a seat for the year, or $25 per license. So you need to buy 10 of them. So it's a $250 investment to get 10 licenses, and they will be, each one is basically $25, is how that process works. I'm hoping that we'll have the in-college tool available probably within the next week to 2 weeks, and so that should also be available. But the college decision tool is available, and now with prior, I actually see it's going to be a really great opportunity to have this service during the summer. Next year, I'm envisioning there'll be a compression. I'm already hearing that from a variety of places, but next year I'm envisioning the compression. Early decision is going to change, and more parents will have to do more work during the summer months when the schools are out, as they get prepared for the September or late August date as they go back to school. So I think there's a great opportunity there as we go through that process. So hopefully that's been helpful for you. If there's any questions or screens that you need me to better explain, I'd be happy to do that. So you can just type in your questions there on the bottom right-hand side, and I'll answer them as they go along. So one question I see is, can you explain the matrix in a little more detail? So let's go back up to the enrollment management matrix here. I apologize if we're flipping through the screens, it's blurry. So the enrollment management matrix is really an important part of the analysis. This is actually the business part that we often don't or overlook. Depending on the schools will have up to 300 boxes in this matrix. This is actually their revenue stream. Each of those boxes really represent their revenue stream for the year. If you're a full pay, which again, we have quite a few financial planners on the line here today. If you're going to be a full pay, you're going to be on that zero line. If your child does not get in, typically if they're on the wait list, that's because the schools actually work on an average net revenue. So let's invert this and think of it this as the college. The colleges on the other side have a target net revenue per student. If they're tracking what's called their yield below that number, what they typically will do is go to the wait list, and those students are typically full pays will then bring them their hedge to the number of students or the average target revenue they're looking for the year. So that's how that process works in the enrollment management side. Again, each of these will be very different for each school, but this gives you a better view of how the schools envision the child as they go through this process. This also identifies the issue, when you have divorce situations, and when we talk about clients, you want compare the higher net worth and higher income family versus the lower family. Everyone says, oh, let's try to lower the EFC number. Your ability to pay is becoming a bigger issue for college admissions in my eyes. So this gives you a better picture of where you fall at graphically, and again, as you go further to the right-hand side, yes, you'll qualify for more aid, but there's probably less and less seats that they can afford to give you. So this gets to be the issue that many parents will face, and I have that conversation with a lot of my divorced clients in the sense that, okay, if there's a substantial difference in income, do we want to get into more schools or do we want more aid? And once they make that decision, we know what parent we're using, assuming that everything else is right, that they're both sharing 50-50 and all that kind of stuff. I actually was on the plane the other day coming back from San Diego, and someone said she had heard some more and more lawsuits going out with people misusing the wrong parent. So again, that may be an issue. There seems to be a little more crackdown on some of the fraud that has gone in. And again, with prior and the school's getting more accustomed to this data retrieval tool and seeing things electronically, not going through paper, they can become a lot more efficient. So hopefully that will give you some more insights. Someone's also asking, can you re-explain the cash flows and the award letter? So let's just go down. So the cash flow there, let's just really quickly look at this. This is on a projected basis, so this does not include any merit aid. On the merit aid side, so we compare that. So we're still just on the front end here projecting one on the need-based side, and then this would be their cash flow using that model. As we now start receiving the award letter, so again, we receive scholarships. We're going to go back down here. I apologize for this. And now the system regenerates the 4-year cash flow. So based on what we've actually received. So this is your decision point. So the first part of the system is building your numbers, helping you build a better list. And then the second part is now okay, I have to make a decision. And that's when the award letter analysis comes into play. As you can see the changes here. And now the system is sorting it by the most cost effective. So here we're looking at all in one place. What's the best deal from a financial standpoint? We're not saying it's the best school. We're saying from a financial standpoint, how can I make the best value decision as we go through this process? So that's what we're hoping to do with this tool, where now we can now focus on the fit for the student, reducing the number of transfers, improving graduation rates, and as I said at the very beginning, the best way to save money is to graduate on time as you go through this process. So that was the other question that came out. If you have any other more questions, that were the only two that came through that I can see. All right. Well, I just want to thank you all for your time today. And if you have more interest in the tool, please give me a call back. You can go to EFC Calc and register as an advisor, and then we can pick that up for you and then set you up. If you have more questions, please give me a call. My number is 610. We'll go to the back end here, 610-789-1255, or the major office number. Let's see here. We'll go to the end. That's the main office number. So, or send me an email. But I appreciate your time. Have a great day, and talk to you soon.